The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right, I guess it's time to get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first 2022 Town Hall for the CPO Instructors. We're thrilled that you could be here. I know that everyone is so busy. It seems like busy season keeps getting bigger and bigger and longer. So do appreciate everyone taking the time out. I am Jeannie Mendelson, the Vice President of Education and Events for PHTA, and we're looking at about a year now since this council was formed after the 2021 January Town Hall. We had a rigorous agenda and some goals, and we've done some surveys and trying to listen. I know this council is trying to listen and be available for the instructors so we can continue into the future and continually improve as we grow and thrive. One thing I wanted to introduce, although he can't make it today, last year on these calls the chair joined us, who was Francine Gonzalez, and the board decided that they would put a board liaison, into the position. So we do have Kevin Post, who most of you know, I think. He's been an instructor since '08. He's been on the assessment committee. He was on committees for an SPF, and he is on the board. He started on the board of directors for PHTA in November and was appointed as the liaison to this council. So he's been making these meetings as well, and so he will be that conduit from the CPO Council to the board, the communication avenue. So we were excited to have him come on to the council, and again, he serves as the liaison to make sure there's a flow of communication from the CPO Advisory Council to the Board of Directors. I briefly mentioned how busy the council has been. I think that you all know who they are. We've put their faces in front of you, which I'm sure each and every one of them love this slide best. We did a lot of work this year, which you'll hear about, but I think people definitely spent a lot of working hours on some of the updates that we've done, many more than they probably thought they signed on for. So I just wanted to thank the council once again for all of their hard work. A lot of people worked over the holidays to get things done for some of the updates. So you have a good crew here working on your behalf. So last year, like I said, we were formed, this council, and again, as a committee working on behalf of the instructors. So I know the council members and PHTA and Natalie and myself, and we're listening, and we're always working to improve for the good of the whole program, both the instructors and the students. So these are kind of our scorecard of where we were last year and what we set out to do and what we've accomplished. So the Pop Fusion registration process, this is the new instructor portal, which is launching in April, and this will be make it much easier to get the Fusion. We've gone through this, and Justin will talk a little bit about it later, but there's, it's bulk uploads, and it'll make everything a lot easier. The phase 2 of this will connect that to the testing process, the online testing process, the computer-based testing. So that will also make everything a lot easier and more seamless, and it will be a one-stop shop by the end of the year. Again, thank you to the committee, because there have been a lot of hours and a lot of side conversations, and some other people were brought in to do some testing on this portal as well. So there's been a lot of hours spent on this. The rebranding of the CPO manual and the slides were completed last summer. We're on the docket when this council was formed. The CPO manual, this is what I've alluded to, and again will be talked about a little more, and the CPO exams went through a complete update. The CPO manual was, again, it will be talked about in detail, but it was a lot of work. I think we're at a really great place. It looks great. I believe it's almost finished printing, and we'll again talk about when that will be released and start shipping. The exams, same, will go with that, and they were updated as well, and we'll talk a little more about that. The PowerPoints to reflect the updates will be updated this year to reflect the ones in the manual. I think we're going to talk about it a little later, but we've done polling questions in these town hall meetings, which some people like and some people don't like, but we decided on this one to go ahead and hold all those polling questions and do a survey after. So everybody who wasn't here is able to weigh in as well. And some of those questions will be about how much you use the PowerPoints and things like that, so we can advise as we make those updates. The Pool Operator Handbook app, we announced last year that we were moving this to an app. It's been really difficult to get it approved through Apple. I believe we have been through 2 appeals with Apple, and I believe we're close to getting approved. So I do realize, I think I've said that before on one of these, so I apologize for that, but it's been a definitely harder process than we thought. Instructional videos on YouTube. I think this was another thing on the docket after when the council was just formed, based on the survey that was sent out about some value added that people would like to see. And I think as a council, we just need to relook at this. The initial issue was that we did several calls for some videos and things and really didn't get anything. So we're going to rethink that, how to populate that. And, again, maybe we'll have some questions in the updated survey to see if that's still of importance and of value for the group. So I'm going to turn it over to Natalie Hood.
Thank you, Jeannie. Lots of work this year. So you guys all know me. I'm the Director of Instructor Relations for PHTA, and I'm just going to go through a few, an update and a reminder before we get to the handbook and exam, one of the things we're all here for. So the first thing I wanted to kind of announce, this is really exciting. We are going to be doing a CPO digital badge. So for the first week of April, we're going to send all of our instructors badge access. Okay, and what this means is you'll have the ability to really display that you're a certified instructor, right? So you can display this on Facebook, in your marketing and LinkedIn, and people will be able to see that you're actually verified. We are also going to be doing that for all of the CPOs for this year. So the second week of April, we're going to be sending badges to those that have certified, okay? So we'll send it to you first, and then we're going to push it to your students. So again, this provides employees and peers concrete evidence of what the CPO certification is and that credential. We will also make sure to send a little bit more information if you have questions, and then we'll be working on a brochure that you can also give to your students. Mailed certificates. Okay, so we had talked that since January, we're going to start pushing out CPO certificates. Okay, so those are starting to push out. So if your students haven't received them, it's okay. They're on their way. We imagine that we might have the same issues that maybe we got do not return to sender, no longer at this address. So if your students are wanting to receive that CPO certificate, just make sure that they are providing a valid address. They will still receive the electronic copy of their certificate and wallet card, but we're also going to send them that mailed copy like we talked about last year. Okay, we're sending those at the beginning of every month. So once you submit your course documents, the sooner you get them to us, the sooner we can process their electronic version, but the mailed copy will still go out at that following month, okay?
And this should have been on my scorecard, because this was one of the things that came out of the survey that instructors and students needed and wanted a hard copy. So we're really excited that this is going from the start of the year here in 2022.
Right. So we've received some feedback on Test Track, and we're always trying to find ways to improve. So in working with Doug early next week, you will have a report, and I'll make sure to keep you updated, that when you pull those scores for your students, it will also reflect the students' address information. So when you push that over to PHJ to process your student certifications, there won't be any lapse. So you're not going to have to enter that information twice, and you're not going to have to download the report and send it to us separately. It will all be on that virtual course roster, which is really good. Okay. If I know when teaching online, it can get a little frustrating that you don't know your students, that the questions that they've missed. So if you're going through that and you have a student that wants to see if they missed one question or if they failed, by all means, please reach out to me and I can work with you to provide you those exam results. Okay. And next, I'm gonna, drum roll please, hand it off to Zach, who is gonna talk about our exam updates.
Yeah, thanks. No drum roll necessary, but thanks. Appreciate everybody tuning in today. I just want to talk a little bit about the exam. Jeannie mentioned that we did update the exam, just a little bit on the process, so you know kind of what went down and how we reviewed that and updated it. But the council took what I would call a pretty thorough review of all 8 English exams, the 4 metric, and then also the 4 imperial, A, B, C, and D. Changes we made are currently being mirrored onto the Spanish and French exams as well, and those are going to be released later this year. But we started with the English. So our process was to go through the exam question by question. We certainly discussed any known issues. I had a bunch of instructor feedback as well. I just want to reassure you guys that every single bit of that instructor feedback we had was reviewed and discussed on a big spreadsheet, and we really pieced it all apart. In the end, certainly there's some suggestions that may not have been incorporated for various reasons, but by and large, I do believe that this new exam version addressed really the vast majority of the concerns that were out there, and hopefully it'll be a really nice improvement for our students and for you guys as well as you administer it. So truly, the exam is different. When you get it in the mail for the first time, it's not, I don't think it's going to be immediately noticeable that it's different. A lot looks the same, just kind of at a quick glance. But if you really kind of hold the two up to each other, the old and the new, and kind of hold them up side by side, I think the changes will start to stand out quite a bit. And so those changes included, honestly, some simple things, right? Like the color coding on the top. We used to have like a red, green, blue, and yellow or something, just to be able to tell the different versions apart, A, B, C, and D. That had disappeared, but they are again color coded. The tops are actually different shades of blue now, which would be helpful in the classroom. They don't stand out as much as the bright colors, but we are trying to stay with the branding there. So they are different shades for sure, and you can tell them apart. Things like reformatting the front info page, that I think is going to be helpful. It just kind of brings it up to current with the information that we actually need from the student. Making the font easier to read, which we did in the book as well. So I think that's going to be helpful. But of course, we also worked on addressing instructor concerns about the actual content of the exam as well. First and foremost, we removed and replaced a couple of those really problematic questions. That was all based on instructor feedback. It's kind of funny in looking at everybody's feedback. You know, there were like 3 or 4 questions that just had, 50 people saying, please get rid of this. And we were happy to do that. I imagine you guys all have an idea what questions those were. We fixed several questions that many instructors felt had more than one correct answer. So a couple of those, I think we all kind of know which ones those were as well. We addressed inconsistencies, things like the spelling of leader and meter. Those are spelled differently depending on whether you're in the US trying to spell leader or whether you're abroad trying to spell leader. So we made those consistent and more to the liking, I think, of our international instructors. We clarified wording on the English versions of the exam to make the exam hopefully more understandable for students whose native language may not be English. And so again, our goal, of course, is to make this a fair exam, certainly not to make it easy, to make it fair and understandable. And so some tweaks here and there, I think, hopefully helped with that as well. We went through and tried to make sure that all the test questions had appropriate references available in the CPO manual index. So some index entries were added into the book to make sure that when someone's flipping through the exam, they at least had half a chance of finding the information in the CPO manual. And again, a lot of those suggestions were provided by you guys, so thank you. And then, of course, many other changes as well. I just urge you, once you get it, sit down, read through the whole thing, and I would do a side-by-side comparison just to look at the differences, because, I mean, there were probably, I don't know, over 100 changes, hundreds if you count all 8 versions, but they don't just stand out immediately. So back to the process. Once we made all those changes, the exams were checked, they were double checked, they were actually triple checked. Council members all reviewed them twice. And then I called upon actually some of you guys to help in reviewing the exam as well. Honestly, speaking for myself, I was and I still am just terrified that we didn't catch a typo or an error, even with all the editing. So I'm really crossing every finger and every toe I have that doesn't happen. But in all seriousness, once they do come out, please read through them, maybe take the exam for yourself if you're up for it, and then let us know if you find anything that we need to adjust or any issues. I really hope you don't. So again, timeline, PHTA is printing these new exams right now. I'm told that PHTA plans to release the new exams alongside the new books, which again, I think Jeannie mentioned they estimate it's going to be in April based on how many of the old books are left. The new exams, I did confirm, will be uploaded to Test Track at the exact same time that they're being sent out. So as soon as that first new book and new exam goes out, they're going to make that change in Test Track as well, so the exams match. And then Spanish and French exams are coming along later this year. They're currently being translated into their Spanish and French versions. And then just some final reminders, please keep your current grading keys, those hard plastic sheets you have. They still work with the new exam. That was actually painstakingly difficult to sit there, and all the changes we made trying to make sure that the same answers still fit. And I think they do. I think we accomplished that. When you use your grading key going forward, the little bubbles, just because we had to change out questions and fonts and everything, they don't line up 100% perfectly. And honestly, they didn't beforehand either, as we all know. They don't line up to the millimeter, if you will, but they're definitely usable. I've tried them on the new exam. They do work. And then new grade keys are planned to come out for 2023. So hang on to your current ones just a little bit longer, and new ones are just around the corner. And then just to note, old exams can continue to be used until you run out. I've got stockpiles of those, I know. But that exam doesn't expire, so don't fret if you need to still continue to use some of those as you exhaust your supplies. So thank you all for all the feedback that went into this. I really did receive just pages and pages from certain people, and other people just had a note here and there, but it was all extremely helpful. And I do think that we have a nice product coming out of this, so I look forward to hearing people's feedback. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Justin.
Hello, everybody. Again, repetition, thank you. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you all taking some time out of your day. I know we got a lot of snow here in Connecticut, so I'm here in the office giving the presentation. I like it. I'm here to talk to you a little bit about the CPO handbook and the updates that the council presented to PHTA, and a lot of it went to print. The first thing I will say straight up is we changed the font back to something that is not small and thin, something that's a little thicker and easier for us to read. Myself included, that was an outcry from a lot of instructors when we saw the new book, was that it was difficult on the eyes, and we did focus on that. But beyond just those overall things, we broke up into small groups of 3 or 4, and each of us had 2 or 3 chapters to read through and flag things to bring back for group discussion. From there, we took those flag things and talked to industry experts across different mediums, took a look at the way things were going, and we suggested a lot of changes. A lot of the chapters have rewrites that make them flow a little easier during communication, flow a little easier for reading, as well as Zach kind of touched upon us taking a look at that index and that glossary in the back. We didn't just stop at doing the content. We wanted to make sure that the tools that you give the students to locate things in the book are updated as well. Because I know in some of our old books, some of the test questions want you to look for something and it's not in the glossary or index. So we hope, again, that we did fix all of that, and I use fix loosely. Our industry is ever evolving, just like this course is ever evolving. We did our best to bring it to a point that we feel is comfortable for the next 3 to 5 years before another edit needs to come in and be made. We're really happy about that. We did add over 200 new photos. So hopefully no longer we're looking at things from the 70s and the 80s, which nothing against you guys that are still looking at the equipment from the 70s and 80s. But we know that there's updated stuff out there, and we wanted the manual to start to reflect the newest things in the industry. The saturation index has had a few little hiccups in some of the updates. We did verify that in this new print of the book, the saturation index has been updated to the new numbers. It's been reorganized. I know personally that this is going to be a little bit of an issue for instructors where you are teaching with old and new books. One way that our company figured out how to get around it a little bit is to have some pages printed from the new books. That shows that arrow on the bottom with the proper metrics for what you're shooting for. And just putting that in with your CPO book. Again, PHTA is willing to absolutely help you guys transition from the old to the new and help out a little bit if you have both of them in a class. A big change that I'm really proud of that a lot of our instructors brought up was changing the language. When the CPO book was originally written and every time it's been edited, it was 8 to 12 different people doing their own sections and then compiled together. So the continuity between sections and chapters, you could tell that it was a different hand writing it. We tried to bring that all together, make it seem like a more inclusive program by just changing simple languages even. No longer just chapter 2 say persons, chapter 4 use swimmers, users, patrons. We again tried our best. I'm as nervous as Zach that we missed 1 or 2, but 99%, hopefully 100% read bathers throughout the books. We're using the same language for our students throughout the entire course and not mixing that up. Handbook release date. I like the question mark on there. The handbook release date isn't a definitive date because we do need to wait for the old stock to sell out. I wish we had the money to buy out the old stock and just, get rid of it somehow so we could all start fresh. But unfortunately, that's not the way that the publishing industry works and the agreement with the publisher. So those books are near the end of completion. Based on CPO numbers from the past 5 years, we're hoping that this stock is gone by the middle of April, which would mean that the middle of April start seeing new books with the new exams that started printing yesterday, hot off the press right there, will be going out in mid-April. You can still use your old books in inventory, and you should. It will take a few minutes of you prepping for the class to either stock the old books with a few extra copies of sheets that have items from the new book that may be a little different. But yes, you can teach it. And the test does not matter which book you have, right? We're all worried about that factor for saturation index changing. The way that that question is written, the number you're using is the same, whether you're using the old book or the new book, something little that we really tried to focus on there. We're excited for it. Even just the change in text, I felt was a really good win for us as CPO instructors, forcing the PHTA to change something that they had just changed, something as great as that. Beyond the CPO handbook, Jeannie, go ahead.
I also want to add in throughout the process, again, it was very heavy on the council, and I know they worked with comments from all of the instructors who sent them in, but it was copy edited as well for a professional copy editor several times along the way. So I'm hoping that Zach and Justin's crossing of their fingers is nonsense, because it did go through that process as well.
Thank you, Jeannie. As well as the handbook, I'm here to talk to you a little bit more about the portal as well. I've been a familiar face for the portal every time we've talked about it. I really appreciate the hard work, again, that the people that are doing the programming on this, working with us, giving us a little bit of frustration and pushback, but then helping us find a way to get to where we need to be. We are launching this the week of April 4th. We had promised a quarter, and then the next quarter ran into a few road bumps. We are launching this portal the week of April 4th. Our holdup was making it a friendlier flow to post classes. We wanted to make sure that this was in fact the flow that not only the council saw and PHTA was seeing, but this has been in beta, what we would call it, being tested by some different instructors on this council, as well as instructors outside of the council, to find those holes and areas that we can improve upon. This portal launch is not the final product. This is the beginning. Okay, we'll talk about that a little bit on the next slide. But our goals are to have you edit your class postings. So instead of using the old website, you're going to start using this portal to enter in the information for the courses that you will be holding publicly, privately, those ones that end up on the PHTA website. There will be the option to bulk import classes. If you are somebody that sets your schedule for the full year and you teach 20 courses, there is an Excel template to download where you fill in the proper boxes, re-upload it, and it's going to populate those classes. You will be able to track private courses through this system. So courses that are not listed on the PHTA website, but you want to track through this system, you will be able to. And you will be able to search and track the history of your posted classes. So when a class is completed, you still will be able to go back and take a look at that class and the students that were in it, their contact information specifically. A little bit about this exact launch. The biggest concern that we heard from everybody during the pandemic about the process was the slowdown of getting codes out and the inability to get codes to students at certain times, dates, all of those factors. This allows you to send a pool operator primer course at any time. If you want to wake up at 11:55 and send that course out, you can. You have the power to enter in that information and then click the little button that says save, and it sends it out to the student. It obviously isn't that quick. It does take a minute or two to get through an email system. With that, though, because the code is being released, and it's been this way since the beginning, when a code is released, you are charged. So when you do release a pool operator primer code, that $50 charge that we've been filling out authorization forms for PHTA to send those out, this is your authorization form. The account will be charged $50. You can go to the next slide if you don't mind, Katie. Thank you. All right, I wanted to bring you to this slide so you could read it and hear it. You can view when the candidate has completed the pool operator primer. We are still working on integrations to be able to see progress. That is not something that the original system was set up for, where the education side was loaded in. Where our education is hosted, it does not have the same tracking ability as the old NSPF system we all were familiar with. But we are working on it. We have stressed to PHTA that if that can be included, that is a very important part for us to know that somebody's 2/3 of the way done 2 days before the class rather than 2 slides in. That helps us make sure that we as instructors alert those people that, hey, you got a few hours of work you got to do before you come to class. But at least you will be able to see on this launch if they have completed it or not. So you will know beforehand if that student has their record of completion. I know there will be questions on this. I don't think it was mentioned at the beginning, but there should be a hand raise feature, a little question mark in the top right where you can put in questions. Please type in your questions. Katie is going to be pulling those up and reading those off to us at the end to answer as many as we can. We are going to have a half hour open at the end of this for questions. If we do not get to your question in that half hour, please don't think we're trying to ignore you. I need to get home in the snow over here. We're happy to spend time talking to you. Zach has made phone calls to instructors, fielded phone calls from instructors. Natalie always talks to instructors all day. I think that's what she does. And Jeannie's gotten in there a little bit too. We're happy to talk to you after class if there's something that we haven't touched upon in those questions. I'm more than happy to reach out and have one-on-one conversations and go from there. I appreciate you for your time, everybody. Natalie, you are up to talk to us about my favorite event, the World Aquatic Health Conference.
I think I'm going to talk about it. Hi, it's Jeannie again. Hopefully this is no surprise. You should have seen some information go up. There's a preliminary website, but WAC will be live. I mean, dare I say 100%, I guarantee. I didn't really say that, but we certainly are all excited to be in person this year. So it's October 12th through 14th. Third time's a charm in Houston, Texas. Hopefully we'll all make it there. And some upcoming dates, abstract submissions are due March 31st. So if you want to submit an abstract to speak, that's the 31st, and you should have received that, but you can find that on the website. And then the October 12th of that week is the instructor awards and an update meeting. And again, we started these town halls with the hope that we're pushing information out and getting questions. And again, the council is listening. And so those things can be addressed on your behalf throughout the year. But, we know it's not totally ideal because we're not in person and we can't socialize. So we do hope that everybody has marked their calendar and we can have an amazing reunion here in October in Houston. So we hope to see you there. I'll turn it over. I'm sure Katie has some questions that have come in. And again, she'll be monitoring those as well as opening that up for people who have questions they want to verbalize.
While the questions are being organized by Katie, I just wanted to say the instructors have asked us in the past to have more of these updates, more of these town hall meetings, rather than the once a year where you guys are inundated with a ton of information. And we're happy to provide monthly meetings to touch base with all of the instructors that can spare an hour or two. I'm happy that this meeting did not take the full 2 hours. And we might not have content that would fill a full 2 hours every month, but we're always going to let you know what we're working on and what we're doing, and open up to the input so we can continue to drive forward and serve you guys.
Excellent. Thanks, Justin. Yes, we do have quite a few questions. So bear with me as I'm working through these. The first question is from Robert. Which address will be used for mailing certificates, the exam or the class roster?
So if you're submitting, so we go off the roster, right? So if you're using Test Track, I would make sure that you're putting that correct address in there. And then also the same, if you're teaching in person, I would put the address the student wants their certificate to go to. And, you know, if they live in an apartment complex and maybe it's kind of hard to get mail, maybe suggest to them to send it to their company office address instead. But really what works best.
Thank you, Natalie. As of when the CPO certificates will be sent out, questions about the classes that ended the first of the new year, so 1/1/22. Is that the goal date of those being distributed?
So if you certified candidates in January, their certifications will be mailed out in February. If you certified candidates in February, they'll be mailed out in early March, and so on. The electronic certificates will still be sent once your course has been processed.
Okay. Will there be notifications when the new exams go live on Test Track other than just mailing out the new books?
Yes, all the notifications and more. As soon as we get closer to sending out the handbooks, we will, you'll probably receive a note from me to say, hey, just a heads up, the new handbooks are going to start to ship this week. And then we will transition the new exams at the same time. So we will give you more than heads up and probably too much.
Excellent. Will the topics throughout the chapters in the book coincide in order with the new PowerPoint slides, and will page numbers be included?
I'm going to say yes.
Yeah.
We are doing. We really wanted to strive to release the PowerPoint with the books and the tests, and with the amount of people and hands and work we had to do, that was not a possibility. We are now updating the PowerPoint to reflect the new book and the new test, so everything should be right in line. Now, again, the PHTA supply PowerPoint, I don't want to say it was never meant to be, but for lack of a better term, is your template. And you are free to add to that PowerPoint or subtract from that PowerPoint for your class. The PowerPoint template that will be released, hopefully beginning of the third quarter, so there's not too much of an overlap. Where page numbers are listed, they will coincide with the new book. Where chapter titles are, they will coincide with whatever chapter title is in the book. We are hoping to eliminate that overdraft, and hopefully we're setting it up so the next time that all of this gets a big overhaul edit, it is much easier to go edit all three at the same time. We're doing the trial and error legwork to set it up for the next group to have an easy transition when we have changes.
Great, thank you, Justin. There's a question about the CPO portal. Can we prepare for POP in the portal?
So the portal.
Can we prepare for POP?
That's all they stated. Or maybe let's adjust to this. If a student does not start the POP, are you able to switch to a different student?
No, so you'll have the ability to give students access to the POP course without having to communicate with the office. But if you have a student that you've assigned access and you need to pull that back and give it to someone else, we will ask that you contact client services for assistance.
Will we still need to, sorry, I need to read this a little bit more. Will we still need to collect the certificates of completion from our students once the portal goes live? or will there be the proof of completion found in the portal sufficient?
The record of completion in the portal should be more than sufficient.
Is there any possibility of purchasing a new book early so folks can start getting prepared with the information?
That is an excellent question, and unfortunately, the publisher does not start printing them until our old stock is out. The one thing that I might bring up with the PHTA next time for the advisory council is we all have a view of the digital book online, which is stamped with, I think, don't print or something. And I do use that to review some things on the fly. We will see if it is a possibility to get the new PDF of the book maybe uploaded to the website, to our portals earlier than it actually is in print. Maybe that's something that could even be done this month, because it might be simple if it's all ready. So we will have access to it earlier. Thank you for that insight. That's great, and we will see what we can do to make that happen.
Excellent. Is it a possibility to get the PowerPoint slide to match the new LSI section?
Yes, that will be done with the PowerPoint update that comes early third quarter 2022. And I urge you that if you are personally having problems getting a good looking arrow onto your PowerPoint and figuring all that stuff out, I just urge you to send an email to whatever your favorite contact is at the PHTA. And they will either be able to send you a graphic to put in there or reach out to somebody who has it. We'll send something over to you to make sure that that slide's okay.
And I think that exists actually on the website under the instructor portal. So they redid those 2 chapters with the correct graphics. I know because I did it. And those have been posted for probably at least half a year, maybe longer. So probably longer. So
if you want to find where that link is, shoot an email over and they'll be able to point to you where it is right there on the portal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good question.
that was done with the branding update, I think. Yeah.
Perfect. Is there a possibility of exchanging any old exams for new exams?
There's not really a reason to. I mean, we understand that we updated the tests and made a lot of changes to it to make it better, but the old exams are still valid. And if they still pass on the old exam, we got to just put up with those frustrations a little bit longer. I'm not aware at this time of there being an actual program to trade them in. I remember when we switched from NSPF to PHTA, there was a short window for us to exchange, but I think that was because of the branding and the protection of this course was now under a totally different title.
I think though that as far as I know, Natalie, exams still come with the book, right? Paper exams still come with the book. So if you're buying, books for your class, and I don't know what exact scenario this person was asking about, but when you buy books, you're going to get the new exam with it. So it's just a matter of working through your current books, I guess, in your current exam inventory. Maybe that person had 7,000 books in their inventory. That's why they were asking.
And that grading sheet is going to work for both. The grading sheet is going to work for both as well.
Great. Will the test track report with the online test scores bring over email addresses so when the email can submit for certification in all one report?
Yes, it will have your students, the information that you submit to test track in order for your students to test will be on the new report. And again, I will make sure to keep you updated when that report is live.
Right. When mailing those certificates, will the mailing requests still be available? Is there a possibility of getting a number of certificates mailed to one person at an organization?
I think we can certainly still do that. I know that we do that for a few instructors that would like to hand deliver your certificates to your students. So you just need to let client services know so that when we run that report to print with the warehouse, we can send those certificates to the right location. But I don't think that would be a problem.
Okay, great. Are they able to prepay for the POP courses in the portal?
Right now, how we have the portal set up, no. I don't know if you necessarily need to prepay because again, you are going to be giving access on demand. So when a student registers on your account, you can go to the portal at 11:59 p.m. at night, on Christmas morning, whenever you want, and you can give them access. You'll just pay $50 and off they'll go. We understand that you might have a few leftover codes, or you pre-purchased on the current PHTA website where you might have 20 in hand. For those, go ahead and reach out to me and we'll work through that.
Regarding the PowerPoint, are the residential pictures being removed and replaced with commercial material and equipment and imagery?
Yes and no. Both commercial and residential will be prevalent. A certified pool operator doesn't need to necessarily just work on commercial pools. I know myself, we do train a lot of other employees from some other pool companies. So we are keeping pictures up to date, but it will be new equipment. If you have some suggestions, it seems like you have some ideas with that very pointed question, please shoot an email to the council or to Natalie with what you're concerned about seeing in those slides. We want to hear from you. We don't want to be just making the decisions, and we're making recommendations to PHTA and working together. We'd love to help you guys get your voice in there too. And if you have an idea that seems very pointed, we'd like to hear it.
Right. Is there any discount for the old books? Any discounted pricing on the old books?
No.
If you buy all few thousand right now,
there's just a kudos to the team in Colorado with a request that says, will they be eligible for WAC awards? So just thank you for the shout out to Colorado team.
Yeah, they should absolutely all get awards. I agree with you.
So a question about credit card payments. Is there a reputable or inexpensive company for accepting payments? With the great amount of CPO instructors, is there a possibility of getting a reduced fee for processing?
So it's weird you mentioned that, because PHTA just sent out an email like a couple days ago about a partnership they have with some kind of it's not even a credit card processor, it was some kind of a packager.
Merchant service provider.
Something.
Yep.
Jeannie, do you know enough about that to speak about that?
Yes, so we do. They signed on as a strategic partner, and so they're something like an affiliate with the organization, and they do help. They're like a third party, and they work with the credit card companies to help lower your costs. They've saved the organization money, and I know they've signed some of our biggest members recently. They're all about, I actually just met with them last week, and they all worked at some of the bigger companies which take money out of your pocket in order to quote unquote save you money. And they don't do that. They work directly with the companies to get your rates lower, and it seems to be, they're a great group. And we can make sure that's in the next update, so you have that as well. But it did go out to all PHTA members, and it should have been all instructors too, for those of you who aren't PHTA members. But it's a great service, and it speaks directly to that.
That question almost seemed like a plant, but I know it wasn't.
Right?
But...
It wasn't. Well, maybe
It was a good plant. I liked it.
Very good plant. But it wasn't. It was from I'm going to say thank you, Kathleen. So there's a question regarding pricing of the handbook. Instructor pricing be less than member? Is there a potential for a wholesale price?
Yeah, that was something that was brought up in a online discussion earlier. I agree that that's a conversation that could be had with the PHTA. I know back in the NSPF days, there were a few different pricing tiers for things going on. And we will, bring that up in our small group conversation and make a recommendation to the PHTA. And, again, if you're behind something like this, if you agree with this being said here right now, this is 150 instructors. We have over Wow, we're almost at a quarter of the instructors we have in the world. This is, I think, double what we had during our last town hall meeting. More of you guys are here. So it was just brought up, should there be a lower price if you're a member of PHTA as well as an instructor? So rather than just the price tier of $75 for a non-member, $45 for a member, should there be a price break for instructors where it's maybe $10 off? We're an instructor and we're a member, therefore we're getting a little less and making a little more ourselves off of sales of just the book. That is definitely something that we will bring to discussion. If this is something that you as an instructor listening to this stand behind and believe that should be a part of it, the best way for the council to make a good recommendation to PHTA is having more than one of you tell us this, is having a group of people come together and say, hey, yeah, we are behind that. This will be something that I hope is in the survey that we send as part of the follow-up, because again, this is the second time I've seen this come up today. So yes, it is something that we would like to bring to the attention of the PHTA.
Excellent. Thank you, Justin. Question, is the South Carolina test to be updated?
No, the South Carolina exam was not updated, but we have recently shared that with the state to see if they would like to make updates.
Right. How can I have access to a POP? And an instructor needs to answer a candidate's questions. Who would be their resource?
You, I don't know if are you pointing at me? You can go ahead and email me, or you can email client services. Ashley is fantastic. Either way.
Excellent. Just another kudos from Alex. These are all such helpful time-saving changes. So thanks so much for the work on this team. So thank you, Alex. Question. So congrats. What about already pre-purchased POP credentials?
Right. So if you've already previously purchased access to the POP course, when we launch, we will work with you, and so that you'll have essentially so much credit on your account. So if you have 10 left over, you'll have 10 seats to give to the POP course. Once that runs out, then you will be charged the $50 to give access to your students.
And honestly, Natalie, I think you can continue to probably submit those to the office, access to the office, until you run out of those. I know I've been exhausting mine recently as I've been testing the system.
Yeah, you can
The
continue.
office remains available for those who need it for sure. We wanted an overlap there. We wanted to make sure that the office remained an option for people who weren't super eager to adopt the new portal immediately.
A question about a QR digital code on certificates or cards. So employers can verify there's been some fraudulent activity. Is there any updates or information you can provide to that question?
So, and I'm still.
So digital certificate, right? So that digital certificate is going to be delivered electronically, and I believe lives in an app wallet that can be on your phone to verify these things. Will the physical certificate have a link that somebody can scan? I don't think so at launch, but that is a valid point, being able to possibly verify a paper certificate if that person doesn't have the ability to put it on their phone or whatnot. That's something we'll talk about. I know that my COVID-19 Hartford healthcare papers have that little QR code that the guy at the concert venue that I go to can scan, and it brings up their website that says, yes, this is credential. That's a very interesting thought, and we'll talk to the PHTA about that.
Right, and I was just going to say too, with that digital badge, they will be able to verify that student. It'll be electronic, but they can verify them.
And the digital badge is something that will take a little bit of getting used to, not only for instructors, but the employers who have the guys, as well as the technicians. This is a new technology that really has only been prevalent in the last 2 or 3 years. It does show credentialed. It checks with a server to make sure that the name matches up and everything, but it is a different app on your phone that now houses this credential. And I'm sure that we will have support in the office of learning which app works with that credentialing webpage. And hopefully, if a student ever called you up and said, my employer can't verify my paper credential, you can help guide them, or you can send them off to PHTA where they can guide them of how to download the app and connect to their credentialed key.
Right. A question about a PowerPoint. Will there be one for the Fusion course versus using the live PowerPoint? Will there be, sounds like, two separate PowerPoints?
This is a conversation that's been brought up more than once, even in just small group discussions when I was down in WAC a few years ago. The diffusion course is a different course. If you're just teaching a one day for people who have done everything online. In the past, while PHDA or NSPF has provided guidance on that one day course, they haven't ever released just a one day PowerPoint, here's what you should cover, because we do believe that some of that is on the instructors. Will there be I can't 100% say that there will be a template for a Fusion course, but it is something that we have been discussing.
Right. And then
I like that idea, and I appreciate the input. Thank you.
Right. Sorry. Thank you. Just this individual needs to be needs some clarification on the roster to be submitted to PHTA after a virtual course. When Test Track makes the changes to the address, will they be able to send that to PHTA as the only roster, or will you need to be including the PDF versions as well?
No, the idea is that will be the roster that you will use to send to PHTA along with payment. So you don't have to double enter it to the other roster.
Okay. There's some questions about the South Carolina code. I think Natalie, I will give you those questions and have you take care of those. Thank you for all the information. It's really cleared up a lot of confusion. So thank you from Florence. Another kudos to Tiffany and Amber, both provided excellent customer service. So kudos to
And Alma, don't forget Alma in there. All right, who else is in the office?
Ashley.
Ashley, yeah, Ashley. Gosh, I forgot Ashley. Don't tell her. It's not on here.
And then it said, could you add a digital badge credential page for instructors where we could send someone to show our credentials?
Yes.
Okay. Great. And then is there data available on the number of students certified by state, both in live classes and virtual classes?
I guess my question would be, are you just looking for overall or just for your students? So we do track students, their locations, if they took the course virtually and or if they took the course in person.
So yeah, the data is available. We have for the whole program by state and what modality they took it in, for sure, and countries as well.
Okay. Also, Natalie, will you be supplying this recording in your instructor update? We've got a question for those folks that may have had some difficulty logging on today.
I will. I've been getting text messages since we started, so I do apologize for those that have not been able to get in. We will be sending the video. My goal is end of day tomorrow with an FAQ and some cool questions.
Okay, great. And then we do have somebody that's been patiently waiting to speak. So I'm going to unmute Mariano, and hopefully you're still available. All right, Mariano, go ahead and unmute yourself. And
okay, thanks. Nice to see you guys all. I've enjoyed this. I have not been able to make a lot of the other ones before because I do work full time for Leslie's. But I had already started getting new tests that I didn't even know were new tests until, as I'm handing them out, I see the different coloration and all that stuff. I mean, when I say different coloration, I saw the new logo and the branding on it, but the questions were different, and also that the books had I got the new books because I used quite a bit of my old books in the first part of when we hit COVID when I was doing, but they had the saturation index different. So I already got.
What I would ask is on the bottom page of your book, in the pages, it'll say 2021, and then the exam should also say 2021. If you have 2022, we're going to have to make a call to the warehouse and print it. But I can confirm the exams haven't been sent. And so I'm wondering, we did go through an update when we merged from NSPF to PHJ. And so I'm wondering if you have those exams in that book.
I'm looking at one right now that I just did because I just did two CPO students where they had done the online, and I bring them in for a day of review like we used to do with the old program, and make sure that in case something wasn't covered of the original 8 chapters.
Mm-hmm.
And this says last reviewed 8/2 of 2019 on both of these. And then the book that I have a PHTA 142. And where were you saying that this was at on the?
You can just look on the bottom of the page. I have one here with me.
I have a 2021.
Okay. So you still have the current edition. The 2022s have not been mailed out yet.
Okay, because
And there
like
was a different, that one page. Yeah, that one page. I think maybe 2 pages were changed, I think mid 2021 or early 2021. There was a little confusion with that. And that was kind of when this council stepped in and said, whoa, you can't just go make a small change on one page like that. We need to do an entire overhaul. And I honestly think that's where it started.
Yeah, because
I
wasn't aware of it until the student came up and told me during the class. He said, we were looking at the thing here, and I hadn't noticed that on the book that had changed. I had seen an update that came out on one of our updates that said this was going to be changed, and I printed it up and I put it in there, but I didn't really look at the bottom of it because I thought it was something that was pending. But
we'll still call that a new one. We'll just call it the old new one, not the new one.
The old new one. Yeah, that was one of the things that led this council to be formed and help smooth communication and process.
Yeah, because when I
hit the nail right on the head.
I heard you earlier, I'm going, wait a minute, I've got some of that. And so I wasn't sure. That's why I put that in there. And then the other thing is that maybe some of the staff, which great, Tiffany, Amber, I was so excited to see Amber got promoted. And, and I understand Tiffany's not there anymore. So because I just called to ask for her today. But Ashley helped. That I have not gotten the tests every time and I just had ordered 25 books in recently, so that may have been part of it also. But I didn't get the tests with them. A couple of times when I've ordered, I didn't get the test with the book, and I had to say, "Hey, I didn't get the test with the book. What's going on?"
Okay. Yeah.
I made that mistake as well.
Yeah. Anytime that happens, let Ashley or myself know. And we're continuing to work with the warehouse to make sure that is addressed, because for every book that you order, you should have an exam.
And one of the things that I was going to bring up to the PhD later, we'll bring it up with all 150 of you now, is making it a little clearer if you're doing the online checkout, which one comes with tests and which one comes without tests. Because somebody who has lived my entire life with computers and ordering stuff online, still screwed up. I still ordered the one that said without test. And it's just a little thing at the end that says W/test. And we got to make that a little bolder or something. And we'll work on that to make it easier to figure out which way you're ordering it.
I'm one of the old farts that just calls in my orders. But I guess I'm going to start trying to do it the other way. But and I also noticed when I logged into the site the other day, there seemed to be, like, the pictures that you were just showing about the portal or the pop or whatever. It seemed like there was some new font and new on the website. When I went to log in, when I went to record the students here that I did that form, and I noticed that it was all different. And I thought, did I log into the wrong website for a minute? Just FYI.
Yeah, you're in the right website. We have made a few subtle changes to go along with the portal. So if you go to the find a class page, you can now search the instructor's last name or by email.
Very good. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, Mariano. I'm going to You too. If there's anyone else that would like to speak, please please raise your hand, and I'm happy to unmute you. While we're working on that, we do have a few more questions that have come in. Something about, can you include all the names of the contact folks at PHTA and brief descriptions on where they can address issues and questions? And I do know on our website there is our staff listings, so Natalie could look into that.
Yep, I can add something into our email that will go out next week.
Wonderful. All right.
And it's a best point. It's a best point of contact. You can always call the PHTA number, the 719-540-9119. They're Colorado, so if you're on the East Coast, wait till about 10 o'clock or 10:30 to try to reach out. But whoever picks up the phone at that office, or if you leave a message, they do listen to it, will be able to direct you to the next office or forward you to the right person to help you. I know I always like having one point of contact places too, but the office up there is very tight. They all do have an idea of what's going on, and they do know who to hand you off to for each thing. So if you're uncomfortable having just one point of contact, by all means, use that office number. Give it a call. They're all great.
All right, and Rudy's got it. Rudy, I'm gonna unmute you and let you. Here we go. Rudy,
Hey
you're
guys,
on.
how are you doing? I hear you. Can you all hear me? So
Yeah.
perfect, because I can't hear myself, but that's okay. I just wanted to say that this advisory council is actually an amazing addition to the program, and I appreciate the work that you guys do. We also, I did want to point out that we do have an instructor group on Facebook that most of you are members of, so we can get information to you that way. And I know you guys see what we're talking about and chatting about. The question that comes with this is, how long is the term for the seat on the council? And for folks that are listening, how do they apply if they want to take one of those seats away from you kind gentlemen there? Not me personally.
I'll start with how. Yeah, I'll start with how you apply. PHTA has a willingness to serve form. Personally, before I was approached and joined this council, I filled out a few of them a few times to try to get into a few different facets of PHTA. The willingness to serve form can be found if you log in under your portal. It can also just be emailed out by somebody in the office to you if you give them a call. The willingness to serve form serves more of a purpose than just volunteering for one committee. While it does ask you what you're interested in serving for, it does provide all of the things you might be looked at for, and somebody does reach out and look at it. I do believe, because of the way that we are planning on doing edits and how things were looking, I think those of us who are on the council right now signed a 3-year term agreement saying that we would be available for this council. But we are revisiting that. We are looking after 1 year of us being together, how much work we've all put in and what's going on. So currently it is a 3-year term to serve on the council as a volunteer. None of us are paid. Personally, I do all my work for this outside of the regular office job I have for a pool service company. So please know that there is a lot of extra work put into this by a lot of us. We are revisiting at the end of this year, and it's not a decision of ours. It's a decision of the PHTA for how long to keep this group together. Keep that in mind. We do want some continuity. We don't want every year somebody coming in and throwing the monkey wrench and doing this and doing that. So right now it is a 3-year term that we've agreed to, but I know the PHTA is looking at that and reevaluating how long we should be serving as a volunteer basis.
And
Thank
just
you.
to, I'll just add to that we talked about this early on this year to ask some of the members, obviously when you sign on to something, life could change. So we definitely obviously don't want to turn this whole committee over in 3 years. So when the willingness to serve, I believe it goes out here shortly, I think in April, we will pick up more members into this committee. We'll see if, some want to drop off or some, haven't had the time to commit. And that way we hope to have a more balanced, obviously moving forward, so everyone isn't dropping off at the same time. So that's the plan there. So there definitely will be the option, you probably have seen the willingness to serve in the past, and now you'll have you know, a checkbox that you're interested in the CPO Advisory Council as well as the other committees that have always been there.
This is the first time we've ever done something like this, which is why the rules on this part necessarily aren't laid out in stone. This is the first time this large organization has asked a group of us to get together like this and try to be a voice and help represent, you know, with a group of 12 or 13, a group of 750. So how it's decided in the future, who is asked to sit on the council might change, but right now, if you really want to work with the PHTA as a volunteer and put some volunteer effort towards bettering things, the willingness to serve for them is the first place to start.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Natalie, for doing a kick-ass job since you took this position. You rock.
Yay! I agree. Kudos. Natalie really is amazing, and she has, I know, advocated for her instructors, as she calls you, you know, in the transition, and she really is an amazing support and resource for this wonderful program.
And then we're wrapping up she is I'll second Jeannie's sentiments. We are wrapping up and our questions are really starting to slow down. Another council is doing a great job. Thank you. Well done. We have one more individual that's would like to speak. So I'm going to let that one person speak for just a few minutes, and then the remaining questions we will respond. I'll get those over to your team. So bear with me 1 second. Lauren, I'm going to open you up and give you the floor for a few minutes. Go ahead.
I just want to say thank you for the advisory council. They've done a lot of hard work this year. And Natalie, thank God you're back. We missed you. You do so much for the instructors, and she supports us so much relating with, you know, the online test provider and any issues that we have with the exams. Sometimes she even talks to our customers when we're having issues with login or the test and the third party proctor in Florida. I think that's been the hardest part. So thank you. And all the ladies up at the main office, I email in my POP login credential order form, and they have it turned around like the same day. So the turnaround's been great, and the response time has been great, and looking forward to seeing the new books with all the updates and everything that Justin and Zach and everybody's done, and the new exams. And thank you for your help, Jeannie, as well. And we're all here to totally educate our pool operators and be the best pool operator certification. I think we're all here for education and just make this the best course that we can for our pool operators nationally and internationally. So just wanted to be positive and say thank you to everybody that works so hard. I know there's a lot of volunteer work in a lot of this as well. So kudos to all of you and to all the instructors that are outside the council. You're all hardworking, and thank you for what you do every day.
Awesome. What a great way to end this. But I will say, PHTA did send Natalie and her husband twin beds as a congratulation for their baby. So don't worry, she's not going anywhere.
Excellent. Great. Well, with that, I think we're going to wrap up and say thank you. And so we'll talk to you later. Thanks so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye. Thank you,
Keep up the good work.